As you will notice here, 1 additional billion was generated by export. I believe that this is the biggest driver and the success of the past 5 years, that the company, well, I remember the previous strategy and the strategy before that, because I've been leading 3 strategies and then participated in the 4th strategy as a member of the board. So I can say that our existence on the international markets was a dream for us, so that we could actually normally visit Germany, France, other countries, and to be a normal supplier, partner, and without any fears provide an offer. And that happened. And what's the most important for me is the fact that we are a European company, a recognizable company, and that we can sell in Europe, sell our products in Europe, and they are bought. We are not afraid of anything, and that's very important also for our employees. We have 5,500 people who believed in that. So that's a big thank you and a bow for them, and a great success for the past 5 years. Well, of course, we've managed to deliver our goals and ambitions, but also we made our shareholders happy. And the annual dividend came around 7% return on annual basis. So the 4.3 or 4.5 capitalization today with the share price. So I believe that our shareholders can be happy with us. Well, we've delivered what we've promised during the past 5 years. Definitely, we didn't disappoint them, and well, we will do everything not to disappoint them in the future as well. Ladies and gentlemen, in this area, mission, vision, values, we often see companies or smaller companies that follow us. When the companies that I talk to, they actually think what they should do, how to write it, what to use. But I believe that the success of our company happened because we never pretended anything. We always were ambitious, and our goal was to make a European company so that we can attract young, well-educated people to work for us, so that they feel that, yes, I will come here and do something interesting. I'll be actually making an object that will be used on the other side of the globe. Or for instance, that I make a packaging that will be a packaging for the best coffee in the world. So these are the grounds for our mission to offer a job to young people here in the south of Poland, to give them the opportunity to grow, to flourish, so that they don't have to go outside abroad to look for a job. So in order to do that, we always have to follow values, and we have the values in our company, the values that base on equality, and that we help each other. And they may be just very common truths, but without team there is no success. And that's what's happening here. And here in the management board, we work very well together, and that actually goes down to our employees. They can see that we follow mission, vision, and values that we believe in. 2025 and the pillars. The pillars are just the same as the previous: sales, profitability, investments. But another area was added, so responsibility for environment and social commitment. And again, I have to say that we focused on that because right now this is an obligation today, but also fashionable. But this is nothing new for us. We've been doing that since the very beginning. Well, since 2000, when I came here, I have been doing everything to improve the conditions of work for our employees. And you may remember the pictures of our plants, how they looked before. Well, sometimes people were working just walking in oil, for instance. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. After 2000, everything has been replaced. A lot of machinery, a lot of equipment that was not ecological, that was not green or could negatively affect the outside environment. Well, it was replaced. And we are also fighting to prevent any accidents, any dangerous accidents or mortal casual accidents and casualties. Well, of course, sometimes they happen, and we also have some employees who have a very minor thing. For instance, they cut twice their finger with a paper, and they report it as an accident, but that will always happen. But since the very beginning, since I've been heading this company, I was fighting for offering a safe and clean job that is connected with everything. For instance, our employees must have a place to eat food, to eat their lunch, for instance. This is our responsibility for the employees, and we have extensive activities that we offer for our employees. For instance, they can send their children to the seaside, to Croatia, to other places. We have additional money for them, the benefits that give them. We have subsidies for them. So we care about our employees, and that's very important for me. And I have to say that together with the group, our program, we have several projects that are brought in by our employees. For instance, a playing ground for their children. And our employees come together and they discuss it and they work on it. So outside of the working hours. So definitely we are very focused on our employees to make the workplace a good place, responsibility for the environment. Well, Grupa Kęty is a big company in the south of Poland, so it's important for us to be an example. So everyone who is a candidate for a work must receive an answer. For instance, yes, we are interested, or yes, please come to the next stage. And that's very important to always give people who contact us an answer. I must say that, for instance, all the small companies that cooperate with us, that they offer us everyday services, well, they are treated well by us. Well, invoices, for instance, we cannot just store the invoices because, for instance, for us, 2,000 zloty may not be a big amount, but for a small contractor, it may be a lot of money. It may be very important. So we are not doing that. We are paying right away. So that's nothing new when it comes to that area. So we also use foundations. We have over 300 children in that are taken care of. They have passports, they have plan for life. And they just stay in the houses for children. So everything is taken care of. So the school, the place to live, the work for in our company. Mostly 16 years old children are covered by that program, and we want them to make a fully committed citizens in our society, so that they are not left alone, they are not left behind. So once they leave this children house, they are fully ready to embark on the new path. So this is a success for us, a success of our company, that the children are together now, that they work, they study. So this is a success that we can share with you. For many reasons, we don't support sport, but we support children's sport, wherever the children can actually have some sport, can exercise and improve their health and sporting abilities. Well, definitely we are into it. And this is the support that we offer them. And now, as regards what I've said, we've sent 15% reduction of the carbon footprint. Well, we are a company that affects the environment, but we've been working on that for many years. A lot of equipment, machinery, also the buildings and the use of water. Well, that may be small things. For instance, documents and reduced printing of documents. Well, these may be small things, but we've included them because we believe that this is how it should be done. This is what is expected from us. A responsibility for the environment. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, what's left? It's nothing new. Export. Our share in the Polish market is really high. Now we have to focus on export. Well, we have our spots. We are recognizable. We set our foot in different areas, packagings, for instance. And so packagings succeeded during the past 5 years. Next, other areas will succeed during the 5 years that will come. I believe that this is actually achievable. Well, Eastern and Western Europe, for us, every single percentage that we win there is important. And we have the technology, we have excellent employees, and we believe we are not afraid. And I also hope that during the 5 years that the export excels even more than we plan. Of course, as you can see, our strategy bases on organic development. So it's natural for us to focus on what we manufacture. And this is the work that we do on every day. Well, we can still increase the or improve the capabilities with regard to some of the machine. Well, we can be more efficient. This is about the ergonomics of work. These are really simple solutions, but they will help us to stay profitable because our priority is to have an efficient workflow. And this is what we share with our shareholders. In flexible packaging sector, I must say that in 2005 I became the president. I was young, I was ambitious, and on 19th January 2006, I I had to actually close down. It was very difficult to prove myself if the situation was so difficult. So together with Rafał Lechowski, we said to ourselves, yes, we will manage to it. We bought new machines, very modern machines, equipment, and we rebuilt the market, and we never stepped down from this path. So for the past 15 years, we've followed the same path. What technology, the best technology, the best equipment, because we wanted to have good technology, because technology is important. And I've been always positively driven that we had the most modern equipment in Poland. So the young people come and say that they know how to use this machine, and this machine is actually producing, manufacturing products at a certain speed, and we have excellent results. Well, and we've started with a very simple BOPP foil film, and you've seen it in 2020 that we had this opportunity and we've used it. Well, that was a wonderful situation, and we were lucky actually, because I've survived actually different situations on the market, so IT bubble and so on. Well, definitely that is a compilation of macroeconomic conditions. So the purchase of raw material and the sale at good margins, very profitable sales, and of course the activities of the management board, because well, they are professionals and they know how to do it. Well, we can't think that this will stay with us forever, that this is how it's going to be from now on. That well, definitely the masks will be cheaper, because they will be, and the films will also be a little bit cheaper. They will come back, the prices will come back to normal prices, and we think of it because we believe that we've created a very valuable asset for our shareholders, and therefore a lot of stakeholders queries our analysis of the market. Well, there is a big question mark. What will happen? What will happen to packagings? Will they stay with us? Because and maybe they will be less colorful. Maybe there will be less layers because of the environmental protection. What about profitability? What the big players will do? Will the market consolidate to prevent loss of profitability? Well, this is a big question mark today. At this stage, we believe that at this stage, well, the results will be very good. The packagings will be growing for the next 5 years, but this is not aggressive investment strategy, because we keep asking ourselves the question, what are the directions to follow for the packaging sector? And we are thinking about other potential areas for investment. And I believe that our duty as the management board is, because we have the assets to manage for our shareholders, and our responsibility is to actually act in such way that our shareholders have the biggest possible return on their investment. So this is what we do. Well, let me summarize shortly. Maybe boring, but this is not a small boat anymore. This is a big vessel, and now taking into consideration the macroeconomic situation, well, we well, we feel responsible for this big vessel. Well, we have pensioners on board with us, and they need their value. They count on good dividend. We over 4 billion worth of asset. Well, this is a big responsibility for us, and then we need to take this vessel to a safe harbor with a dividend. Well, if people actually ask me if it's worth to buy our shares, well, I always recommend buying because 7% is a sure return. My colleague is laughing and saying that this is not how it should be, but I believe that our company is a good, safe haven for the shareholders. And that's all from me today, and I will give the floor to my colleagues. Well, this was not a recommendation. Well, not a recommendation. We always say that it's worth to buy the shares of the company. Thank you, President. And now Piotr Wysocki, member of the board, will provide you with the strategic objectives of the segment that he is leading. Piotr Wysocki, over to you. Well, aluminium will be the material that will be developing. Well, we estimate based on the sources that we access, and we can see that the growth for aluminium will be around 2%, and for the next 5 years we should reach around 6%. Well, we will be favored by the growing sprawl, urbanization. Well, the construction market will be developing, and they use a lot of aluminium. And another element is the dynamic development of car industry. So decreasing the mass of the vehicle as compared to what it was before. So replacing steel, and steel will be replaced in terms of many elements that are used in vehicles today, and the aluminium profiles will push out steel, and they already do push out the steel profiles. Well, I first came across it in 1996, and the Renault company had a project like that. to replace other profiles with aluminum profiles. It was a novelty at that time, but it's not a novelty right now. So, well, all the data that we have are very optimistic. And well, we will definitely come across environmental issues during the next 5 years. So internal Polish ones, as well as the ones that are set forth by the European Union. Well, that's why we continue our own research. We have also some restrictions connected with the carbon footprint, and our customers are interested in a green aluminium that comes from scrap. For instance, pre-consumer scrap. So this is something we are sort of ready for. We started last year being ready, and we also see that in the next period the environmental aspects will be important for us. We will have to face them, and we are ready for it. How about our competitors? Global competition, because in Poland we are strong, but observing. Well, we observe the biggest players in the world, and our competitors in Poland observe us. Well, these are the directions that we want to follow. So process, manufacture, process, and then supply. Maybe not just an aluminum profile, but processed element. And we want to ensure, provide our customer with a service. So this is how we observe our competition. Well, we well, the market is growing by 2%, and we are talking about 6.3% for us. So it's significantly more. So export, well, in Poland, it's very hard to expand. So the biggest shareholder in the market is attacked. And we've actually developed our expert during the past 5 years, and we want to follow the model that proved effective during the past 5 years. So we want to base on the employees that we actually hire in other countries. So we observe the German market. We were very succeeded because we've sold around 13, 14 tons in Germany alone. And this is our export and the success. And this is just 1% of the 1 or 2% of the whole German market. So we are very effective. There's still a room for us to fight for. With our technologies, with our efficiency, well, we can still succeed. In general, export will be the direction for us. Another thing that we base our strategy on is to double the sale of processed products for the automotive sector. Well, we've purchased a company in Slovenia. We also have our own department plant that processes profiles. We are very well regarded in automotive industry. We are very advanced when it comes to new contacts and negotiations. As well, in Slovenia, we were previously the plant was actually focusing on the home appliances, but now we have really huge growth of production for automotive industry. So we are actually focusing a little bit on the automotive. So for instance, aluminium profiles, or maybe sometimes the decorative elements for the vehicles. So, and first of all, in order to deliver the goals, especially the quantity goals, we need to work on it. And by that I mean improvement of efficiency in all our manufacturing plants. We also have a plant in Ukraine that also produces for Polish market. So using our R&D department, we are able to introduce new, quicker production ways and new alloys. So we will be able to easily increase without any investment, basically. So we are able to increase the production by several tons only by improving our efficiency. So this is high and continuous improvement. This is something that the system is happening on everyday basis. So this is the improvement of efficiency. And another way how to increase the production capabilities is the press. So we will, in order to achieve 100,000 tons of sales, we need to have a press. And this press will be the only big press that we will invest in. We know that this is a necessity for us. We need a press that will quickly offer us a cheap product. And this will be a tool for us to be efficient in competing in international markets. For that, we need to increase the production capabilities. And the whole strategy, well, sets forth a high profitability with the growing income revenues. So increasing the capabilities, improved efficiency, organizational activities, optimized processes, an investment that follows the market. So the new press, fabrication, and we are saying that we want to double our sales in automotive market. And how to do it? We need a new machinery park. So this is press, extruding, but that is also processing and a lot of various machines for that, an investment. So this involves the investment in cogeneration, so cheaper heat, and that is also part of our climate related policy. So we are talking about 1 megawatt of heat, of energy. So this is actually part of our 5-year-long plan into the future. So thank you so much, Director. And now the objectives for the aluminium segments. Tomasz Grela, member of the board. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Well, this segment has gotten used to a dynamic sales improvement, and that is actually happening with a high profitability. What about the sales? Well, the sales bases on the products that improve the quality of life of people in the houses, in the workplace. And this is the objective that we will follow in the future. So we want to continue what we've been doing for the past years and what has proven to be very effective? Well, our product is not a strictly necessary product. So our customers take a very informed decision whether they want to buy it or not. So we cannot just respond to the needs of the market, but we also need to create the needs, and we've been very successful in that in the past. So we manage the development of the products and the market in order to be able to propose new solutions and recommend them in such way that the customers believe that this is the product that they need. So we also face different issues today. As Mr. Wysocki has said, we are a company that bases mostly on the Polish market. And in this market, we have around 50% of shares or 70% of shares. But that means that actually developing our share, increasing our share can prove very difficult in this market. So we need to stick to what we have, but we also need to expand our portfolio to introduce new products into our portfolio. So on the one hand, we improve the products that are functioning today. For instance, windows and door product that is functioning right now. This is nothing new or revolutionary, but this is new product because it replaces the old products. And I believe that this will be the most popular product when it comes to aluminum windows and door systems. There are also supplementary products that are not associated with AluProf today. We will have a product that will, so for instance, we will have the window solutions that will be introduced next quarter. We will also introduce a unique system of internal walls that will be addressed to the contractors, for instance, so that the assembly and finishing of this product will be so easy that it will be able to be done by any employee. So this is the plan for this year, and in the future we will also have new products, new solutions. And as the CEO has said and Mr. Wysocki has said, we will be focusing on the export. And today we are sending our products to several countries. Well, you can see them in many countries. As recently our products has reached the Arctic, a British base in there. But that means that we will be actually working on growing the export part. So we are talking about the British market here. We want to double the sales. This is the market that responds very well to our products, very well to our approach to the customer. And today we are talking about 100 million zloty, and we want to double that in the future. We will also concentrate on another market. This will be French market. Today our sales is a minimal sales, but this is a third market in Europe, and we want to focus on that properly. So we will have a dedicated offer for that market. And of course, the United States, well, we have made a very prestigious objects in the center of New York, but we want to add to the products also systems. We want to sell systems as well, and this will be our main goal for the American market. In the US, we will have to build or maybe hire a production and storage hall building, and we believe that this will be the best solution in order to serve properly the American market. Well, of course, Benelux, Scandinavia, and Southern Europe markets are doing very well. Bulgaria, Romania, Croatia, Serbia, these are the countries that will be the countries for us to develop our sales. And of course, in order to do that, we need logistical backup. We are probably the only company in this industry that is exporting all products from just one place. I'm talking about Bielsko plant and Opole, where we distribute roller shooters, and Bielsko, the architectonic profiles. Other companies have their distribution centers in many places. Well, there are pros and cons. Well, we wanted to have everything under control, and therefore we wanted to have it in one place. And this is how we develop our logistical capabilities. As you can remember, in Opole, we will around June we will open a new building warehouse, and again we will have another 20,000 square meter building for the architectonic elements. We will also have a line to produce some architectonic elements, and that will also be followed by the investments in the logistical and production capabilities. What else? Well, I've mentioned new products. In addition to the products that are in our portfolio and that we keep improving, we want to add new solutions, and we would like to become a leader or maybe one of the main players when it comes to fire solutions, and we want our products to be more popular, so their share in our sales is growing, and we want to be a recognizable company in that market in the future. Now, research and development. We are working on innovative products. It's too early to speak about it today, but we are working on a project that is responding very well to the needs of today's market or the industry in general, and that is connected with the fight with pandemic. So we have this project, and I hope that during the next meeting we'll be able to tell you more about that. And now, next meeting will probably take place under new brand, because rebranding will happen next year. We will introduce a new logo, a new vision, a new way to communicate with the market. So during the next meeting, we will present you a new brand, a rebranded company. Although those actions should translate into the growth of sales, and we would like to grow by 550 million zloty to reach 1,650 million, with a high margin of 17 or 18%, and with a really good profit when it comes to EBITDA. Well, we base on what we've been doing before that was so successful. So we can't really expect too much revolution in our segment, but I believe that our shareholders are very happy with the results that we deliver and how we deliver them. Thank you so much. 1,650,000,000. This is the plan for the next year, and in 2 years, 2,127,000,000. So thank you so much, Director Lehovich. Director, well, for the extruded products area, well, the situation is quite good. There are no materials that could be taken out of production. Well, we used to experience research with magnesium, for instance. Well, during the next 5 years, well, so thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We are a leading company when it comes to our products. This market was stably growing in the recent years, and there are no indicators proving that this situation could change in the future. It is estimated that the growth will be around 2%, whereas in the new strategy, we estimate that our annual growth will be around 4%. Those optimistic estimation of the Alupol Group is a result of the fact that despite really strong environmental initiatives, nothing shows that the products, materials will change in the near future. That means that the packaging based on the polypropylene, for instance, material will be kept because plastic packaging help to increase the safety of the food that is stored in them, but they also increase the shelf life, which helps to prevent food waste. Well, the negative effects of all types of packaging on the natural environment results in the necessity to introduce recycling connected solutions in the companies that produce them. However, those solutions will have to be more uniform. The packaging will have to be more uniform because they need to be easier to recycle. So the change of structures of those packaging will be very important. Alupol is one of the leading manufacturers of polypropylene films in Europe. In the packaging business, our share is around 1%, whereas in individual key industries, the share is around several percent. For instance, food concentrates industry. This is the situation there. We've sold already over 50,000 tons. That means that our share in European market reaches around 5%. And similarly to packaging business, well, our growth should increase in the coming years. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the past year was very successful for us. The global lockdown opened new chances and opportunities for us. And because of the decisions that were made in the right time, the right moment, we used all opportunities. The optimum choices that we've made helped us to reach 930 million zloty in sales. This result will be around 20% higher as compared to the previous year. Well, we believe that the next year our operational profit will increase by 63%, and EBITDA will be over 50% more than in the record-setting 2019. 80% growth will be dedicated to the net profit, reaching over 170 million zloty. That's what happened in the past. Let me concentrate on 2021 and the other years. Ladies and gentlemen, because of the objective reasons for the strategy 2021-2025, the result that was used was scrapped off the lockdown effects, and I will refer to those parameters in my presentation. In 2021 and in the following years, so under our strategy, Alupol will strengthen its position on the market, and the margin should remain at 19%. This 23% packaging and 13 films. And the sales should reach 1,070,000,000 zloty in 2025. And this will translate into EBITDA in the last year over 200 million zloty. Ladies and gentlemen, please note that the investments expenditures are relatively low, around 82 million zloty throughout the strategy. And this low level is because we already have a very modern, very state-of-the-art machinery park, as well as we have no information about the directions of the market in Europe in the further perspective. Therefore, the management board stopped other essential investment activities, and we will concentrate on the optimization of the capabilities of the machinery and on better quality packagings, so thinner and easier to recycle, and well, thereby having less effect of the environment in the end. And taking into consideration all the changes that are happening, our industry reserves the right to file a request to verify those estimations. That's all from me. Should you have any questions, please do not hesitate to ask them. Thank you. Thank you so much, Director. We had slight technical problems in the beginning, but it seems that everything is all right now. Thank you. So now we are starting the financial presentation, and the financial objectives will be presented by Rafał Warpychowski, the financial director of the company. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Let's start with the macroeconomic estimations objectives that we've used for this strategy. Well, the main message in this slide is that next year the economic situation should improve. So we are not expecting any negative effects in the future, negative effects of pandemic, for instance. And this is illustrated by GDP indicators, Polish and European, and other macroeconomic objectives are connected with our activity. So the prices of aluminium and prices of the foreign exchange rates. And of course, when it comes to the materials, we've decided to use an average level and stick to a stable level throughout the strategy. And that means that the results that we report are comparable and they relate to our objectives, and they are not affected so much by the macroeconomic outcomes. And now moving on to the financial goals that we set forth. Let me start with a short comment on the 2020 forecast. Yesterday, we've confirmed that the forecast was delivered earlier. EBITDA was 660 million zloty. Well, we stand by this forecast. As Mr. Lechowicz has mentioned, 2020 means a very unique one-off event that our industry was able to work out because of the operational efficiency Therefore, for instance, packaging, flexible packaging data was improved by 60 million in order to have it comparable. So our revenues will grow 6% annually. That will mean the growth of 1,200,000,000 zloty. So in 5 years, this should be 4.6 billion zloty and over 30% growth. And that means that in all segments, we double exceed the development rate of the market. So that means ambitious goals. So EBITDA, for instance, indicator, we are talking about over 30% growth, and that reflects what we've mentioned before. We concentrate on the operational excellence, on the efficient production. Now, net profit follows the operational results and again, growth. And in 2020, we also have one-off event around 20 million zloty for deferred tax, and therefore the result is decreased a little bit. Now, summarizing the 5 years, it's worth to show the scale of ambitions. Ladies and gentlemen, during the 5 years, we should generate around 1 billion zloty more of EBITDA profit as compared to the previous 5-year period. This is about 40% growth as compared to the previous period. And now my comment about the results during the first year of the strategy. Trends and objectives, they are all consistent with what was presented by the segments in strategic period. The results, although compared to the 2000 record-setting year, will be higher by 5%. EBITDA will be higher about 30 million zloty, also around 5%. And net profit 3 million more. But if we include the one-off event, that would be even more, and similar dynamics. And another package of data includes money flows, cash flows. So during the 5 years, we would like to generate 2.8 billion zloty on the cash flows on the operational activities. And this amount includes growth of about 250 million zloty on the working capital, net working capital. This is the result of the growing prices of aluminium, but also the growth of the scale of the group's operation. We want to spend over 1 billion zloty on the investment. Half of it, these are development projects that generate new revenues and increase our profits. And 1.7 billion should be spent on dividend for our shareholders. And comparing to the previous 5-year period, this will mean 0.5 million more. And the dividend should be paid according to the current policy, 60 to 100% of the profit. So we set at 85%, so above the average level of this indicator. Next year, around 500 million zloty generated by cash, a higher investment, 284 million zloty. This is because we will focus on our investment during the first 2 years of the strategy. So half of the capex will be spent during the first 2 years in order to deliver better results quicker. So that debt will grow to 780 million zloty, but still it will be a very safe level. The indicator will be 1.2. So we plan to pay out 380 million lot of dividend for the record year. Now, summarizing, yes, we've although decided to display the comparison of our ambitions between our ambitions and the strategy that was valid until the year 2000. Well, the objectives are a little bit different, but compared to the market, they are very ambitious. So that's the first thing. And the total value generated for our shareholders will be higher because EBITDA will be by over billion zloty higher, and the net profit will be higher by 600 million zloty. Therefore, the dividend that will be paid out. So I hope that our shareholders, stakeholders will find it a very ambitious strategy, and we believe that our strategy is a response to the needs and interest of our stakeholders. And we believe that our development compared to the rest of the market, above the market dynamics, is very ambitious. But reachable goal. We constructed our financial forecasts, well, the system of growing revenues and increasing profits that involves a very sustainable investment program, and we want to follow our dividend policy. That means increasing dividend based on growing results, on improving results. That will also follow the safe indicators. And by saying safe, I mean that if the market fails to develop according to our expectations, or if there are any shifts in our operational objectives, so we have a safety net. And as it was already said, in each segment, organic development, but at the same time, there may always be a need to respond quicker to a situation. So this safety net would help us to launch new development investments, as mentioned by Mr. Lechowicz, or use the opportunities that appear on the market, for instance, acquiring also an option that was mentioned by the president. We believe that the changes that are happening in the market, for instance, flexible packaging, and the perfect position of the segment makes us believe that this is a great moment to check what's the value of this segment on external market, and this is what we want to do. And the last element, the fourth pillar that we've mentioned, well, we've prepared a series of objectives, non-financial objectives that concerns the environment, safety, our employees, our commitment, social commitments, and our relations with the contractors. And for the management board, these goals are as important as those measurable financial goals. And we believe that the strategy will be fully delivered only if all objectives are reached. Let's not forget about the numbers, and these are the numbers that we present on the slide. So this is the model of value for our shareholders. So the growing results should generate 5% growth of share price on annual basis. And at the same time, we have a 7% dividend rate. So that means around 12% annual return for our shareholders. And this is the strategy that we've decided to present. So thank you so much. Thank you. Well, we've finished our presentation. Hence, we are moving into the session, Q&A session. Let me read the questions that were sent to my email address, and then we will be answering to the chat questions. So the first question is, in the previous strategy, you talked about the fourth segment, and now you are not mentioning it. And why is that? Maybe the CEO. Yes, our appetites were there in the previous strategy for the fourth leg, and we analyzed the market in terms of a business that would fit us. That would, and we believed we wanted to have the biggest sales network. Therefore, we believed, and up until today, that it would be perfect to have a fourth business that could use the sales network of the Alupol. So all our focus went on investors, architects, and so forth. And we actually analyzed mechanical ventilation, air conditioning in the buildings. We were observing some areas, for instance, piping or fixtures. So we had some talks, but it never happened that any of the areas talked to us. We never said, yes, this is the synergy we've been looking to. This is something that will complement us. This is something that will be good for us and for our shareholders. So we stopped thinking about it that much. Well, today we believe that we may be able to find a company that would fit in our business, that would be a fourth leg. So nothing can be cancelled completely. Well, of course, we can always change our mind. And if there is, for instance, an opportunity for a good synergy with our core operation, well, definitely we will analyze it because this is our duty. Thank you. Another question. All segments are to grow faster outside of Poland and in Poland. Hence, what can be the share of export in the revenues in 2025? Well, yes, the dynamics, export dynamics will be twice as high as the dynamics in Poland. So that means around the sales in Poland will be growing around at 20% and the export at 40%. So 1,200,000,000 zloty of revenues, 800 Poland, 400 export. So we're talking about 4 percentage point of the shift between Poland and export. And similar tendencies can be found in other segments. Thank you so much. Next question, aluminum system. During the strategy and the presentation, you have found that the segment has a high share in Polish market, therefore the growth will base on export. But at the same time, you are saying that the share of aluminum products in Poland is one of the smallest in Europe. Do you still believe in the convergence that Poland will convert and reach the European average in this respect, or maybe this process will be so slow that it will not be enough to deliver the goals, the objectives. Yes, we still believe that the development in the country will try to keep up with the European development. It seems natural, not just in Poland, but also in other countries, because other European countries are also using plastic for windows, for instance, or facades. So this tendency, this trend applies to the whole European market. We believe that this will be more dynamic in Poland than outside of Poland. So I am not afraid that this trend will not be enough. Of course, I cannot promise you that the situation will be exactly the same as in foreign countries, in France or Benelux, but yes, it's quite a safe estimation. Around 70% of our customers focus on export. Their export is really well developed. So the exporting consumption outside of Poland is so high that it will also translate into the situation in Poland. Thank you so much. Another question. Do you plan to publish an annual report, ESG report, with detailed delivery of non-financial objectives? No, we didn't think about publishing this material in an individual document. Well, we have a section in our management board that is dedicated to the non-financial parameters, and in this strategy we also have many goals in this respect that were set forth. We believe that this part, this segment will be more extensive. We will have more commentary on that, but as of today, we will still be presenting it as part of the management board report. Thank you. Because the dynamics that were used for this strategy are smaller than in previous strategy. Does it mean that the market sees them less positively than previously? Well, as we've said, definitely it is a bigger challenge. We are starting in 2020, even the one of we're talking about 600 million zloty EBITDA, and last year 2019 it was 525 million. So the basic level is the starting level is really high, but the fact that we are talking about annual return, average return for shareholders at 12% is very ambitious, and the total value of profits is higher, 1 billion zloty at a EBITDA level. So we are talking about 600 million zloty more in 5 years, and this is quite ambitious. And the dynamics of the markets presented by all segments are also very ambitious. So thank you so much. Next question. I understand that it is possible for the flexible packaging to be sold. If so, what will you use the money for? CEO, would you like to answer? Well, I have to say that we monitor the market in terms of our core business, and we didn't want to start any unnecessary fantasies of the experts, but everything that is happening in this area in terms of companies, the areas that could bring us back high value for our shareholders are analyzed, and the money could be actually used for something. And some of the money could be paid out to our shareholders as a dividend. Well, it all depends on the decision and on the annual meeting of shareholders decision. And next question concerning the same subject. And if you are unable to sell this flexible packaging segment, you wrote that this segment can start investments or acquiring. So any potential acquisitions of this segment, would they happen in Poland or maybe outside of Poland? Maybe Director Lechowicz would like to speak about that. If you can hear me, yes, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, it's very hard for me to answer this kind of question. Please try and to see it from my perspective. I don't know. Acquisitions have been done by this segment, by the flexible packaging segment. Well, all were successful, but this development of the entities that were acquired did not follow the direction that was set forth before we acquired them. So, so, so we feel the best with our organic development. So I have to be honest, we are not looking into any of the options of acquisitions. I've been saying that very often that we have an excellent plant with great profitability. This is this is the best plant in Poland in any respect. It is modern, it is excellent, it is innovative, and that happens because the production happens in quantity, because the technological regime is kept. And often the competitors that come here ask us how we do it. Very simply, we stick to the regime. But purchasing companies that are outside, are abroad, it's very difficult to keep the technological regime. And with this segment, it's not so easy to reprocess it. This is a waste that is very aggressive for the environment, and storing it is very expensive. So when the production is not following our technologies, well, it's very difficult. So we are very cautious here when it comes to the technological regime. So we have it in our three plants in Oświęcim, in Tychy, in Kęty, and if we have a place, if we are to be more aggressive on the market, well, definitely would agree with Mr. Lechowicz that. Thank you. During your works on the strategy, did you have any ideas to expand your operation? Well, by the rolling products. Yes, we've talked about the adding rolled products, and there was a project on the table, but we didn't start it exactly. It's about rolling techniques, technologies. We were thinking about the constant rolling process, painting and so on. This was a very interesting project as well, and it's a pity we didn't actually go through with it, but we'll see. And now, a next question about the growth of capabilities in the extruded products segments. But Director Wysocki said that the capabilities will grow by 20,000 tons and the press is around 11,000 tons. So this is the difference in capabilities. Let's move on to next question. Now about the estimated results for 4 quarters that we provided. Does it mean October, November, and 2 weeks of December, or maybe the whole December is covered? No, the forecast covers the whole quarter. And the question is because we mentioned the parameters that were used for the forecasts at the moment of publication, so the macroeconomic objectives. Yes, this forecast is an annual forecast. Next question, flexible packaging. How about the lockdown effect? Did you see it clearly during the first quarter of 2020? Yes, in March we could see it quickly because the end of March we had a purchase craziness on the market and we were using this effect, whereas it reached its highest level in the second quarter, and in the third quarter we've been just like using our profits, and the fourth quarter was more normal. And another question for that segment, now the estimates for fourth quarter say that in the fourth quarter the sales will be around 40 million less than in the first quarter of last year. Where does the difference come from? Let me answer this question. Yes, this is the effect of lockdown. So Q1 2020 is relatively higher than previous year. Now, referring to the previous question, well, the forecast was prepared in the first half of December, and during the presentations, I always say that December for flexible packaging is a month that is unpredictable because the customers say that they will not manufacture in the second half of December, and then the situation changes hour by hour, and they actually report orders. So this forecast is just a forecast, and December may still be better than we estimated when we presented our forecast because the situation changes hour by hour. We keep receiving information from the market that the third decade of the month means for our customers standing by, and now we receive information that they will work in the break between Christmas and New Year. So the answer is that basis is that the basis is overstated, but in the end The December still may be better than we estimated. And an aluminum system segment, the growth of sales abroad in 2020 and 25 means around 350 million zloty. Can you actually break down the growth on main countries that will contribute to it? Well, I've said the Great Britain, United Kingdom, US, 10 to 70 million zloty, 30 million zloty, France, and then the remaining countries. Thank you so much. And another question for the aluminium system segment. Do you think that it is possible to build skills in integrated photovoltaic solutions? Is this area interesting for you? We are responsible for systemic solutions that make it possible to use our facade and use it on a building. Well, of course, it can be completed as a photovoltaic facade. So you can use actually photovoltaic panels for our facade today. But no, we are not going to produce photovoltaic panels. So we offer our customers to assembly anything on the facade, but we are not producing the photovoltaic panels. How fast will you evaluate the flexible packaging segment? I- are you thinking that an alternative would be to go on a Polish stock exchange? Well, yes, definitely. This is a good moment. And yes, this process of checking out the market should be completed relatively quickly. That means if there is an interest on the market. We are talking mostly about the first quarter, and we will know whether the information from the market that we will learn from the market whether this is something interesting, and then we will think about next steps. This is not a decision about selling the segment. We want to check the value of the segment. We believe that the situation in the segment is very interesting. It contributes to the improved value of the segment. We want to actually check if there is an interest, maybe for a synergy or a scale that cannot be generated internally. But the discussion about future steps it's too early to have this discussion. Thank you. Do you know on based on what indicators uh, the entities in packaging segments were evaluated during the acquisitions in 2020. It's hard for me to say that it relates to 2020 because we've seen several transactions and the results were not double digit. But I have to emphasize that it's very difficult to talk about multiplier. We just want to evaluate the segment under our group and we will compare it to the potential external valuations and hence the multiplier indicator issue is not as important. Thank you. And now a query about the schedule of investments, 1,060,000,000. How it will be happening during the first 2 years? We will spend a little over half of the amount. Well, we have specific tasks. We launch them immediately. That means that the investment cycle takes several months, a dozen or so months. So over half of the amount will be spent during the first 2 years, and hence the first financial effects from the development capex will happen when, depending on the tasks, we have many tasks. Some come with a quick return, for instance, improvements, bottlenecks or so. But the investment process takes a dozen of months, and this is the horizon that we have. 2022, 2023, this is when we will see the first effects. So the capex will definitely be happening. So extruded products, are you planning to develop, grow in Ukraine? No, we are not thinking about growing our production or investments or capabilities in Ukraine. We have just one press and we maintain this press, and they produce for Ukrainian market and Polish market. Also, there will also be some innovations, but we don't want to improve the capabilities, production capabilities. And because of the signaled more focus on the automotive and components, uh, do you want to focus on the Slovenian plant or maybe on the Polish plant? Well, depending on what product we're talking about, and where is it more effective or easier to produce this product. And this is what we will be doing. We have a cooperation with Slovenia. We can't definitely say here or there. Wherever it is more convenient, we will use the plant to be more effective. And thank you. And this is the same question. Is it possible to leave the go leave the uh, the flexible packaging via exchange stock exchange? Well, we don't want to leave anything. We are not afraid of anything. We believe that the investment period in the flexible packaging has been completed. We've built a good value. We believe that this is an interesting asset, and we want to check out whether this is just gossip or these are facts that our asset is so highly valuated. So we feel obliged to do that. And as Mr. Lehovich has said, a situation is as it is in the flexible packaging, mostly because of the environmental protection that we should take uh, uh, this into consideration. Think about potential investment step, and before that we have to check the market. Thank you. What can be the investment outlays for the development in American market when it comes to aluminium? Yes, we are talking about a certain amount. So it's hard for me to estimate what will be the additional outlay for promotional activities, for instance, but 25 million zloty for the backup for the production and warehouse. And now about starting a production of systems in the US. No, we are not talking about launching a production in the US. Well, in a sense, we want to double Polish situation. So we are talking about prices, logistical issues. So the main, so we want to also have a representative, and at the same time, we would also like to develop our ready product, so the service in the field on spot, so that we can actually offer the service very quickly without waiting for Poland. So be because we've started operations around New York, we will probably focus on that region as well, but maybe we will also develop our production and selling capabilities in the US. Thank you. Another question now. Taking into consideration the estimated fourth quarter results and the strategy 21-25, I feel that you are preparing the shareholders that the net profit in 2021 can be less than the amount that will be reached in 2020. Please comment on that. Yes. Please remember about the one-off effect that we've mentioned, and the net profit in 2022 effects. One was used for correction when we've mentioned during the flexible packaging and consolidated results. There is also one-off event that relates to the flexible packaging, but it was not pandemic related. So deferred tax. So this is a unique effect that will not happen next year. They were talking about 51 million zloty on the level of net profit, pandemic effect, and 20 million worth is the deferred tax that will not happen next year as well. So 70 million zloty. So this result 417 million zloty corrected by 51 means 366, deduct 20 million, this is 346 of a operational result, and then growth to 472 by 23 million, for instance. But the profit, expected profit this year is 417, and this is higher than 370 million next year. But this is for the reasons that we've mentioned. We cannot catch up with this kind of high effect, one-off effect. We have to remember that when publishing the strategy, we also provided our official forecast for 2021. We are not preparing it. We have announced that in 2021, nominally the result will be lower, but we have to take into account the factors, the change of base. Thank you so much. The strategy does not provide information about the interest, what will be the scale of entities when talking about acquisitions in the extruded products and aluminum products segments. Can you tell us about the scale of revenues or EBITDA scale you are talking about when you potentially take into account any entities. There are two possible paths, scenarios. The companies that are around 200 million uh, revenues, and we are able to acquire there and then use them quickly and efficiently so that we do not stop the company from normal functioning and it is profitable. So we are able to use our capabilities to respond quickly so that there are no side effects of the acquisition, because it is possible to work in a small company and then actually work out good solutions. And then another opportunity, a possibility, is a company that is a corporation already, and nobody asks anybody about certain things because the organizational culture is similar to ours. So we are comparable on all levels, and we can actually work out quickly consistent ways of operating. So this is about acquiring another big entity that can fit into our potential. And we are also a public company, and we are talking about similar conditions. There is a question, actually, to speak louder because the listeners cannot hear you. Another question relates to the aluminium systems. What was the how how the Brexit will affect the strategy on British market? Well, we don't know it exactly, taking into account the fact that this is a very interesting market and we want to focus on that market and we want to double the sales on that market. Well, our theory in the strategy is the next step will be to build our own facility in order to be more independent in terms of the issues connected with transport, with suppliers, and so on. And well, we will have to actually build, open a production and storing facility. Now, increased aluminium scrap uh, up to 70%. Uh, Coming from ingots, are we talking about actually using your own resources from Kent? Scrap that we can buy on the market? Well, we want to use our own resources as well, but we do not expect any cooperation in that respect with Alumetal. Alumetal is purchasing other kinds of alloys or aluminium. So this is not the scrap that we can use. Thank you so much. What is the share of the green aluminum in the group's production, and what will be the level in 2025? How can this affect the cost of the raw material and efficiency of production? Or is the market of scrap aluminum supplies developed in Poland? It's very hard to actually determined that in the beginning of the year, everyone wanted to have the green profile, green aluminum, and well, we worked on our technology, we offer this, but at the moment the problem is the price because it is more expensive. Well, the market price is simply higher, but if the customer presses us to offer the green aluminum, well, we offered it, but at that price, there are no customers, there are no clients for that. Well, this is for the construction market. In our case, well, it is connected with a decreased quality. The green aluminum. This is actually another aspect. Well, the green aluminum is problematic. Thank you. When the new profile press will be launched and which press will that be? It will be the 14th one in 2022, depending on how fast we work. It can be July or August or September. I think around September. How about the aluminum systems development in the fire protection area? Will that be an organic growth or acquisitions? It will be driven by, it's hard to say because we can't hear the person speaking. Why? In this strategy, most investments have been allocated in the extruded products, whereas during the past 5 years, this segment translated the least to the results of the group. And there is a high competition there, small barriers for entry, and a high volatility of results. Ladies and gentlemen, we must say that if looking at the investment and development expenditures, so we have two segments, SSA and SSW, and 300 million zloty out of 500 million zloty will be spent on SSA. Well, the maintenance expenditures, the distribution is different. But talking about the property and plant, most of the property is in SSW, and maintenance couple must be proportionally higher in order to produce 80 something thousand tons today and over 100,000, 110,000 tons in 5 years. So this is a specificity of the production. Now about the development, as regards the development strategies, expenditures, well, 50% more on SSA than on SSW. How about aluminum systems strategy? Does that include a potential slowdown in office buildings and shopping malls after pandemic? Yes, so we take that into account, especially in next year, and based on the individual conversations, we also analyze the situation. And basing on the what is happening in the projects right now, we can estimate what will happen next year. Well, next year seems to be a weaker year in this respect. Well, basically, less construction sites are launched and less foundations are laid down, but when it comes to shopping malls, hotels, or office buildings, this is actually a temporary effect because looking at our projects, only next year may be not as good. So, well, this is a small portion of our total business because even a drop by 50% in this business it should translate into 3 or 4% of sales drop in our business, and it can be caught up by other areas. Does the management board believe that the flexible packaging business can be sold based on the indicators that are higher than the general business? Well, only in such a situation this transaction will make sense because as the CEO has said, we feel obliged that we have to check the possibility on the market. But this is not a decision about selling, but we want to confirm the value or confirm that our strategy is right, the strategy that we are presenting to you today. Yes, I confirm. So the management board believes that if so, the indicators used for the sales should be higher than the overall business. How about NPA, Skawina, part of Boryszew Group? Could that be a complementary business for the extruded segment and a value added for extruded products? This is another activity. The previous question was about not really profitable business, but these are different people, different questions. No, we are not interested in it. And the last question refers to the possible IPO of the flexible packaging on the stock exchange, but that was answered already. Well, technically, this is not excluded, but first we need to check the market, and that was all. Let me check again. Yes, that was the last question. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone who joined us today. I'd like to thank the members of the board. I'd like to apologize for all technical problems during the conference, but that is actually a video conference and the first video conference that we've produced. Next time will be better. If there are any other questions, please send them to me. I'm Malina at grupakent.com. If you need more teleconferences with the financial director or maybe other members of the management board, please don't hesitate and to write us. Thank you again. And I'd like to use this opportunity to wish you happy, healthy holidays so that we are able to meet in person without the face masks. And these are the wishes that we have for you. So have a great, happy holidays. So thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.